Aclara is a company focused on the future production of heavy rare earths from ionic clays. Ionic clay type of deposits are today the deposits that produce all heavy rare earths for the world, but unfortunately they are located in one single country, which is China, also in Southeast Asia, but also controlled by Chinese companies. And unfortunately, that production does not come with the highest sustainability aspect or social aspects. And that's what we have put a lot of effort to bring a solution for this type of deposit that is quite sustainable. So similar to other critical material companies, we are here driven by the global warming and the applications that have been popping out everywhere to fight climate change. One of the main one that is driving many critical materials is electric vehicles, and the demand that is driving rare earths is electric vehicles is enormous and is structurally changing the market for rare earths, especially the heavy rare earths. So many of you might not know what are the uses for rare earths, but today the main applications occurs in the motor. So the rare earths are used to build the strongest magnets that exist on Earth in relation to the size. These magnets go into the electric vehicle, into the motor of the electric vehicle, and they generate a magnetic flux that helps reducing the energy consumption from the battery. So it's extremely important because that way you can reduce the size of the battery, which today represents the main cost of an electric vehicle, but at the same time you maintain the efficiencies that you want in a vehicle. So we've seen, for example, the autonomy in vehicles have improved a lot. Before, vehicles could only go in one charge for 200 miles. Now they can go to 400 or 800 miles, and that has been given by the rare earths, while we have been reducing the size of the batteries and saving cost on that side. The chemistry is quite important. These permanent magnets are made using iron boron at 70% and rare earth on a 30%. The main rare earths used are neodymium and praseodymium, which are the light rare earths, but these magnets had an issue to work in high-performance applications at high temperatures, because if the temperature of operation in an electric vehicle would pass 100 degrees, which they do, this magnet would get demagnetized. So we needed to add the heavy rare earths, which is between 1 to 3%, to make these magnets be able to operate at temperatures over 150 degrees. The problem is that the ratio needed in a magnet is between light rare earth, neodymium, praseodymium, and heavy rare earths, dysprosium and terbium, of 10 to 1, and in nature, we don't find it in that proportion. We have operations in the US, MP Materials, and in Australia, Lynas, that produce light rare earths in a proportion of 150 to 1, so almost no heavy rare earths. And then there's a lot of projects in the pipeline that will produce light rare earths. But in the heavy rare earth side, we literally find almost no projects outside of Asia. We have two projects, one in Chile called the Penco module, and the other project in Brazil called the Carina module. And then there's an operation also in Brazil called Serra Verde that is producing now, but unfortunately has sold all the production to China. And there's also another project called Meteoric, also in Brazil, that is also important for the heavy rare earth production. But this is how the supply looked in 2023. We have the official production in China. This is issued by the ministry in China as a quota, and the companies need to comply with that quota. And then we have an official production coming mainly from Myanmar at very low quality and standards. Then we have the production of Serra Verde, as I mentioned, and byproduct production from light rare earth projects. So all in all, the supply is around 3,400 tons, but the demand expected by 2030 is enormous. It's almost double than that. And we see, again, no projects being able to fill that gap. Our two projects are going to produce around 250 tons together, which is still a drop in the water. So looking at this, one would expect that the prices of heavy rare earths are increasing, But on the contrary, they have been decreasing. And this is because the prices of heavy rare earths and rare earths in general are only issued in one place, which is China, and China wants to keep them low, of course, to control their monopoly in this market. However, governments all around the world, and this is an example, if we see the chart on the right, this was issued by the Department of Energy, put the dysprosium at the highest risk and the highest importance for the energy transition. And there are also analysts already projecting that the dysprosium price could go up to 4 times the value that is today, which is, of course, what us are expecting, based on the huge imbalance between demand and supply. So this is a little bit the market. Now I'm going to talk about Aclara. So we have 2 projects in Chile, one, and in Brazil, the other. We are backed by Hochschild Mining, which is a gold company listed in the London Stock Exchange. They own 57% of the company. We spun off the company in 2021. We listed it in the TSX. And very recently in this year, we brought a very important shareholder that is CAP, is an iron ore, high-grade iron ore producer that purchased 20% of the Chilean project. This is important because normally junior companies tend to be backed, at least in the rare earth industry, not tend to be backed with important industrial companies, and these 2 companies have more than 50 years of experience in mining and industrial businesses. Between our 2 projects, we could be able to produce 16% of the official production of China, which is totally material for the West and the Western automakers, which are already interested in supplying from outside of China. We have developed a technology which is quite clean, and I'm going to explain it briefly. And we have patented that technology in Chile, in Brazil, in the US, and in Australia, and in China. Finally, being backed by 2 important industrial companies and mining companies and have a strong financial background made us take the decision to vertically integrate the company. So these mining deposits would only be producing a concentrate, but unfortunately, there's no processing facilities that can accept that concentrate outside of China. So we are developing our own technology in the US, and we are about to issue the first study next month of processing or separation of this concentrate into individual oxides. And then we have a solid financial position now. We have $30 million in cash. We have 20 more millions of cash receivables from the deal we did with CAP. And this is a great opportunity for investors, as the company is only evaluated at 60 million, which makes the enterprise value only 9 million. So why so depressed? Because, of course, the rare earth prices are quite low. The only 2 companies outside of China are losing money, and that does not generate a good environment. However, with the shareholders that we have, they are long-term investors, and they see to put these assets into production. This is the process that we designed. The mine is very shallow. It's clays. It doesn't require any explosives. Only with an excavator and a truck, we take the clays into a plant. We basically mix the clays with water and ammonium sulfate, which is a fertilizer, and we can recover the rare earths in 15 minutes. Then we can remove, raising the pH of the solution, the main impurities that for us is calcium, magnesium, that we don't want it in the end product. And then we precipitate the rare earths by raising again the pH to 7, and then we can obtain the carbonate. This is extremely easy metallurgy. That's why in China they do the popular in situ leaching, which of course is very bad for the environment. The magic in this process is that we added a water treatment plant within the process that cleans completely the water used. And this purified water, we use it to wash the clays that were contacted with the initial ammonium sulfate. This, of course, happens in the press filters and allows us to clean completely the clays and send them back to site as they were originally. So we don't have any tailings, and we can revegetate these clays back. We recirculate the water with 95% efficiency and the ammonium sulfate with 99% efficiency. So this is actually a cost-effective process, and the cost is quite comparable to China. The projects have the Penco module, 14 years life of mine. The other one in Brazil has 22 years life of mine. The Brazilian project is much larger and requires a much larger investment. In Chile, we are projecting to invest 130 million to construct the project. In Brazil, 600 million. And both projects are today in the feasibility stage, and the permittings are also in progress. And with this slide, I finish. Our strategy is not only doing the mining, but again, vertically integrating the company and doing the separation in the US. And finally, with our partner CAP, we are looking to do a metals and alloys project, which is the next step before getting to the magnets. We're doing that in Chile. They are funding it completely. And we have done already a strategic agreement with VAC. Vacuum Schmelze is a magnet company, quite important, that already did a contract with General Motors and has been granted a $100 million grant in the US to put a plant in South Carolina of permanent magnets. No, our idea is to bring a mine-to-mine magnet solution to customers like the ones you are seeing in the screen. So basically, our business opportunity is, of course, producing very scarce elements such as dysprosium and terbium, which are the heavy rare earths, but doing it with the highest environmental standards, and of course, trying to do this solution for the West. Thank you.